Pastor Beth Martini, an assistant to the bishop here in the Lower Susquehanna Synod. I'm the point person for mobility and call processes. This video is an overview of the call process for congregations in the Lower Susquehanna Synod. The intended audience is congregations, councils, and call committees, people who would like to know about the transition of rostered ministers. There's a second video that's specifically for call committees that describes their work more in depth. The call process I'll be explaining is the process we use for rostered ministers. A rostered minister is a deacon or a pastor. A deacon is a minister of word and service. A pastor is a minister of word and sacrament. Both pastors and deacons are called by a congregation or a ministry setting, a call that we understand comes from God to serve in a particular time and place. All of the resources I will be referring to are available and linked to on our Lower Susquehanna Synod website. On lss-elca.org, under Congregations, there's a drop-down option for Call Manual for Congregations. You'll find here the resources you'll need. You may wish to familiarize yourself with the documents found here so you can reference them in the future. In addition to the resources found on our website, you also have many people who are walking alongside of you during the call process. The word synod means to walk alongside of. A few of the people in particular include your interim pastor, who may be a resource for you, especially as you're filling out the ministry site profile. I am a resource for you. So is the assistant to the bishop that relates to the conference, which your congregation is a part of. Also, the dean and the secretary of your conference are resources for you. This clock is in the call manual. It's a visual of the call process. We'll go through each step now and talk about the call process at every step along the way. Step 1, leadership vacancy. If you're learning that your pastor or deacon is departing from your congregation, your council president can be in touch with the bishop's assistant that relates to your conference. We'll work with you to ensure that there is pastoral ministry during the interim period. For some congregations, that will be an intentional interim pastor, someone who has training and has particular gifts and skills to walk a congregation through a period of transition. After your rostered minister has departed from your congregation and you have an interim or supply pastor serving there, at the time that your council and interim pastor determine that is appropriate, you can start by forming a call committee. According to your constitution, your call committee will either be formed by the council or by the congregation. And we ask that call committees be composed of 6 people, one of which should be on the council also. And we ask that you do not include anyone who is a paid staff of the congregation. Once you've established a call committee, the call committee can meet together and start working on the ministry site profile. Step 3, ministry site profile. As you are gathering as a call committee, the first task before you is to create this document that will reflect your congregation and describe the congregation, the surrounding area, and the leadership needs you have within your congregation. This is an important document. It helps the call committee and the council and the whole congregation be on the same page about what it is that's important to you in your next rostered minister. It also then communicates to the bishop's office and to any future leaders, a candidate that you would be interviewing with, what is most important and what it is that you're looking for in a future leader. After your mission site profile has been completed and reviewed by the council and shared with an assistant to the bishop, it will be activated And you then wait for the bishop's office to share the names of potential pastors or deacons for you. Step 4, receive names. At this point, all of the work has been public. Writing the ministry site profile is something that is best engaged in as a whole congregation. You invite and receive input into that document. At step 4, receiving names, the work becomes private to the call committee in order for the call committee to go about their work dutifully and faithfully as they've been appointed by their council or congregation. They need some confidentiality. The bishop's office takes the ministry site profile, which we have received from the congregation, and prayerfully discerns good matches, suggested candidates, which the call committee receives the names and profiles of. We ask that call committees interview everyone whose paperwork we give you. Deacons and pastors fill out a rostered minister profile, a document similar to the ministry site profile, where it names the leader's experience and education and has a variety of opportunities to describe a narrative description of themselves as a rostered minister. Step 5, interview candidate. The call process is a mutual discernment process. So as the call committee interviews candidates will also be interviewing call committees, getting a sense of the congregation and what the specific ministry needs of that place are. So I invite you to be open and honest during these conversations so that God's voice might be heard in these interviews. You'll see on the clock there is an arrow at points 5, 6, 7, and 8 to the center, a stop sign. It says stop. At this point, a candidate could withdraw their name from a process, or a congregation could indicate to a candidate that they are not proceeding in the call process. This is a mutual discernment process. If at any step along the way, either party decides they would not like to continue, we ask that you write this in a letter. It could be an email. CC someone from the synod office, such as myself, on it, and convey your discernment. Step 6, more interviews or see them work. Traditionally, step 6, after an initial interview, has been a time to go and hear the candidate preach, especially if you are looking for a new pastor. This is still certainly a possibility, and it can be helpful to see someone preach and lead worship in person. Due to the pandemic, most pastors and deacons even have many sermons available online, so you could watch a video of them preaching. That being said, use step 6 to creatively interact and engage with the candidates that you are discerning. Perhaps you'd like to invite the candidate to come and lead a Bible study with the call committee, or lead a devotion, or maybe come together and have a meal together, have a more informal time of fellowship to get to know one another. This is all in the name of discernment and prayerfully going about who God is leading to your congregation. Step 7, recommend to council.
The call committee's goal is to recommend one candidate to the council. The call committee does not need to be in unanimous agreement, but must have a 2/3 positive vote to recommend a candidate to the council.
Once there is one candidate, they recommend that candidate to the council. At that point, the call committee chair hands over the work to the president of the council to lead the way. Step 8, council interviews candidate. At this point, meeting is arranged between the candidate and the council, and oftentimes the call committee is invited to be at this also. What we recommend is about 30 minutes before the meeting, the call committee meets with the council and describes their discernment. What is it that led you to the decision that this is the person that you are recommending? Then the candidate enters, and the call committee can introduce this candidate that they are familiar with, but the council is meeting for the first time. And now the council and the candidate have the opportunity to interview one another and get to know each other. At the end of that meeting, there's typically a time to review a compensation package, which is worked up and shared in advance of that council meeting. We ask that candidates receive a draft of the compensation package at least a week before that council meeting, or that the candidate could be in conversation with the congregational leaders that are drafting up a compensation package. And we have information on our Synod website about Synod minimum compensation. At the end of the council meeting, what typically happens is that the candidate is asked to leave the room. The council has the opportunity to be in conversation, and typically a member of the council makes a motion to call that rostered minister with the compensation package that has been agreed upon. If that motion is a strong positive, then that motion goes on to the congregation because it is a recommendation to the congregation that this person be called. That is step 9, recommend to congregation. That typically happens at the end of step 8, the council interviewing the candidate. Step 10, congregational meeting. If that vote is successful, the leader is brought back into the council meeting and that information is shared. After the meeting, please be in touch with myself or the assistant to the bishop that relates to your conference and name the date that you have in mind for a congregational meeting in order to conduct the call vote. Make sure you are paying attention to your constitutional documents, which most of them describe a required 2-week lead time in advance of a congregational meeting. We'll make sure that there is a representative of the synod at the meeting to conduct the call vote. Step 11, vote to call. In advance of a congregational meeting to call a rostered minister, the bishop's office will be in touch with the council president with information that you'll need and paperwork that goes along with the process of calling a pastor or deacon. Then on the day that is determined, the candidate typically comes and leads worship, preaches, presides if they are an ordained pastor. And what can precede a call vote is a time of fellowship with the candidate. Often this is called a meet and greet. You could perhaps have a meal that you would invite your congregation and your candidate to, and a time, some places like to just have a time of informal conversation. Some people like to do a formal question and answer as part of the meet and greet. This is an opportunity for the whole congregation to meet the candidate that is before them, and that would be in advance of the call vote. Then the person representing the synod office comes and conducts the portion of the congregational meeting where the call vote is happening. And we would bring ballots and receive that vote. If the vote is 66% or higher, that is a call to the congregation. The pastor or deacon then has 30 days to respond to that call. But as you'll see, step 12, the large majority of the time when you've gotten this far in the process, the leader does accept this call and recognizes that this is a call from God. If you're a member of the call committee, I invite you to watch the next video as well. Thank you for watching and learning about the discernment process we engage in order to call a pastor or deacon. Thank you for your partnership in the gospel, and may God bless you and keep you.